Planning on traveling this summer? Make saving at the pump part of your plans with 2 times the fuel points from Harris Teeter. It's easy. Download your eVic coupon, and for every $1 you spend with your Vic card, you'll get 2 fuel points. That's up to $1 per gallon on quality fuel at participating BP and Harris Teeter fuel centers. Download your eVic coupon today and save money at the pump all summer long with eVic and Harris Teeter fuel points.
What is a Fisher House?
It's a place where families can stay close by while our military and veterans are treated for wounds and illnesses, seen or unseen, at military and VA hospitals.
Because the family's love is the best medicine of all.
Learn more at fisherhouse.org.
Several months ago, I got a new follower on Twitter. Her name is Demi Michelle. She started to share and like and really support me in ways that I was very surprised by, especially for someone I had never met. But over the past few months, we've become friends, and we exchanged some direct messages, and she shared what's happening in her life and what she's up to. She recently recorded and produced and released her own brand new album. Demi Michelle Schwartz is a pop and country songwriter from Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. From a young age, she has surrounded herself with music, piano playing, singing her favorite songs, and going to as many concerts as possible. While in college, she discovered her passion for songwriting and decided to turn her expressions into lyrics. The thought of writing a new song is always on her mind, and she can't resist typing lyrics into her phone and recording melody ideas as she's inspired. Her songs hold an authenticity that shows who she is and staying true to herself as a songwriter. I think you'll enjoy this episode because we tie a lot of collaborative efforts between writing songs, producing songs, writing an album, putting an album out, and my new ventures as a business, as a small business, just getting started. I hope you enjoy this episode today. I know I did. Let me go ahead and introduce you to my new friend, Demi Michelle.
Welcome to the Unscripted Podcast. My name's Corby LaCroix, and the song you're hearing right now is called Great and Mighty One, available on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you get your music. But for now, recording from the Unscripted studio at the Junction in Old Hilliard, here's your host and my friend, Aaron Conrad.
All right, everybody, welcome to Unscripted from my studios at the Junction in Old Hilliard. Corby, thank you for the introduction on audio as always. Speaking of audio, I have looked forward to this interview for a very, very long time. My guest today has been a huge supporter of everything that we've done in Unscripted, and I look forward to speaking with her soon. So I will let her introduce herself, and we will go from there.
That was the greatest intro, honestly. She's recording for it. Hi, everyone. My name is Demi Michelle. I am a pop and country songwriter. I recently just released my debut album, Dear Diary, on October 15th. So I'm so excited that's out. But along with being a songwriter, I'm also a graduate student getting my MFA in writing popular fiction. I'm a podcaster. I'm the host of Writer on Track, a songwriting podcast. I'm also currently in songwriting school with the Songwriting Academy. So yes, I do so much, but I'm so excited to be on this show because everything you do, Aaron, is so inspiring. So it's an honor to be here.
Well, Demi, I could say the same. My goodness, that was a lot. You're doing a lot more than I am, and you've been a huge supporter from the very beginning of this thing, and I'm thankful. I'm always honored, and you've shared and you've liked and I'm really thankful to have you on today. It means a lot to me.
Of course.
All right. Well, let's start at the very beginning.
So I feel like from the beginning with me with music, that's kind of where it all started. I started playing piano when I was 10, and it happened very unexpectedly because before I started learning piano, I haven't had any musical training at all. But one day I was over at my cousin's house for one of my cousin's birthdays, and one of my cousins sat down and started playing Happy Birthday on piano. And like I said, prior to this, I've never touched an instrument ever. And so she started playing Happy Birthday, and I sat down right after her and played it by ear without ever playing piano before. And so my aunt kind of told my mom, you should probably let Demi take piano lessons because she just did that. So I started taking piano lessons and found that piano was truly my passion from a very young age. But from that, I feel like I started to sing when I was in middle school. I joined choir just for the whole social experience because all of my friends were doing it. And then I started taking voice lessons in high school. But at this point, it was all just for, like a hobby, really. Like I wasn't planning on studying music or pursuing music in any way until I got to college when I initially majored in music therapy, which is super interesting. I'll talk more about that in a bit. But I started as music therapy and I realized that the clinical side wasn't really for me, but I still loved the whole aspect and concept that music can be seen as a therapeutic tool. And a lot of people have found healing through music. I definitely have. And so from that, that's when I started to discover songwriting, putting my love for music and also writing with my master's together. Because when I was in college, I also majored in creative writing as well. And so after I switched my music major to just a BA and added my creative writing major, I started to put music and writing together and discovered that even though I wasn't going on clinical sites and doing all those kind of things with music therapy, I was still able to use my songwriting as a therapeutic tool. And I did that for myself for a really long time. And I didn't really tell people I was songwriting because I had major confidence issues. But after I kind of got over that and started sharing my music, I got a lot of great feedback and then decided to dive into songwriting. And here I am now.
And here you are now. And I'll tell you, I listened to quite a bit of your stuff today and have before today, but just reviewing today because I knew we were going to interview. Your songwriting is very unique. And I think it's very personal. And that's what I really liked about it, is it's very, very personal. Your sound is also very unique. It sounds a lot like it reminded me of a Jennifer Knapp. It's a throwback, I think. And I don't know if you've heard that before, but it's a throwback to a more I don't want to say like the 60s, but it's a time when a guitar and a message kind of come together versus where we are today with pop and what do they call that when somebody uses a thing with their voice that doesn't sound anything like their voice. I can't remember.
Auto-tune.
Thank you. It's not auto-tuned. It's very raw. It's very real. And then to know that you wrote your own music, like I appreciate that. When I was listening to it today, I can appreciate that as someone who appreciates music. That's really not easy. It's not digitally produced, almost like an Instagram filter for those that maybe don't listen to music as much as I do. The auto tune is an Instagram filter. It's not real. And so I like that it's unfiltered. It's you. And then the words are something that you've written. So that's also very impressive for someone to put that all together. So yeah, that's my feedback. That's my review.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I feel like as a songwriter, I kind of learned the hard way about why it's so important to be authentic and true and honest. Because when I started kind of recording more fun, when I was just exploring, I wrote a ton of songs that were 100% fiction. And they were super cool pop songs, but I didn't connect to them because they weren't from my life and my story.
Mm-hmm.
And I recorded a ton of songs, like an album's worth of songs, completely recorded, mixed and mastered. And then I realized I can't release this music because it's not me. And I would literally tell anybody who is thinking about being a songwriter to just be authentically you, because I spent so much energy and money and studio time working on songs that I didn't even release because I didn't believe in them. So that was a hard lesson I had to learn. But I feel like as a whole, like you said, my style being a little reminiscent of some older styles mixed with more modern styles. That's really interesting you say that, because I've always loved pop music, but I've been told by many people that my sound is more of like a folk pop /
Mhm.
country crossover.
Mhm.
And I never really thought of it like that before. And so with my music moving forward, I'm definitely going to try to bring that out more, consciously. But I feel like as a whole, it really, intertwines all of my music is the authenticity, and it's that it's so personal,
Mhm.
because that's what I really want to do as a songwriter. I want to inspire and I want to share my story, because I know there's so many people out there who turn to music
Mhm.
for one reason or another. And I always gravitate toward the songs that I know the artist singing it believes every single word they're saying, because that song means so much to them.
Right.
And that's something I aspire to do as well. So your words mean so much to me. Thank you so much.
Oh no, you don't have to thank me at all. I'm not Simon Cowell, so don't. My advice and 50 cents might get you a cup of coffee at a gas station. But at the same time, just my following of music in general. That's kind of where I thought when I listened to it was, this seems to be the lane that now, and anybody can go out and make a certain recording that puts them in a certain lane. I mean, Taylor Swift has gone from country to pop to whatever else. I mean, so you can record whatever you want and it puts you in whatever lane. It's just when I listen to your voice, when I listen to the lyrics, when I listen to the recordings, I was like, this is kind of the lane that I see you in, and I think that's your fit. Now I don't, again, we've just met 10 minutes ago, but I don't know, that's kind of where I see you. And again, that in 50 cents will not buy you a lot, but anyway, that was my feedback. But you mentioned a few things in there that I really want to unpack with you, and that's all right. So you decide, okay, so I'm writing music, because I have to think, and I've never written a song in my life. I barely can play the guitar. I did grow up playing piano, so I do have an ounce of instrumental talent, but nothing that I would ever do publicly. But that being said, at some point you probably had to decide, okay, do I want to be a songwriter or do I want to be a singer-songwriter? Like, was there a fork in the road where you said, okay, because clearly you can write music, clearly you can write a song. And then, so I'm fascinated by this, and I hope our audience will be too. How do you go from sitting down with an illegal pad, writing out a song, writing out lyrics, writing out your story, let's just say, to adding music to that, to deciding I want somebody else to record this, or I'll shop this, or so this is a really multi-pronged question. And maybe you can just walk us through the process of from legal pad to the day that you record it yourself and the decisions you have to make along the way.
Well, I love this question because I feel like the creative process is hands down my favorite thing in the whole world. I feel like for me, it all starts with some kind of inspiration because I have to write something meaningful to me.
Mhm.
And I actually do tend to start with some kind of lyrical draft or lyric and melody simultaneously because I'm so focused on the story. And in terms of going to record the song, I feel like a big deciding factor for me is, really taking a critical, analytical approach to my songs. And this is something that not all creatives can do. They write something, or if you're a painter or, sculpture, whatever you do, like you can look at what you created and be so attached to it, like you're afraid to make changes or you're afraid to share it in fear of what people might think. But I found that it's so important to be critical because if you're going to put your work out into the world for others, it has to be in the best form you can get it to be in. And so I'm a huge fan of revising. Like every single song that I release has gone through various rewrites until I get it exactly how I want it. And then I tend to sit with it for quite a bit before I go to the studio to make sure that's the song that I want to record, because I write a ton of songs. Like not every song I write, I'm going to record. So there is definitely a selection process, thinking about what songs are crafted the best and what songs do I connect to the most and all those kind of questions. And in terms of recording it myself or somebody else, that's an interesting point too, because I am definitely trying to go the more songwriter route where I write for other artists or co-write songs for another artist. That's what I'm trying to do. I haven't gotten there quite yet. I've been doing a lot of co-writes, but none of my songs have been recorded by another artist yet. But I think like in terms of recording the songs I write myself, the studio aspect is probably my favorite part of the creative process because I write most of my songs on guitar or the piano. And so when you have a very stripped down demo, just guitar vocal or piano vocal, you have that very raw song. But in my head, I'm going off in all of these different directions of like instrumentation and production and like what key is this actually going to be in and all those kind of things. And all that really comes to life in the studio. And I'm so lucky to have an amazing producer, Bob McCutcheon, who literally lets me sit right next to him and like add all the instruments. I'm part of the mixing process just so everything sounds the way I envision it, because that's so important to me as the one who wrote the song. It's important that it sounds the way I envision it to sound. And I also have other incredible musicians, Luke Wood, my guitarist, and Sophia Elliott, my drummer. And I just love the whole collaborative effort, because even though I wrote these songs, I'm all for, asking others' opinions, like what should we do here? Like maybe we should bring the bass in here, like whatever it might be, to make other people feel like they're engaging with the whole process. And as a whole, like we're all creating something incredible we're all excited about and that we all love. So it's so amazing going from having a spark of, oh, this is a cool title, or like, oh my gosh, this is a concept I totally want to write about, to actually going to the studio and recording it and then eventually getting a final master recording to release. It's so beautiful, and I'm so grateful that I get to do this, because all these songs mean so much to me, and every song I've released so far has touched someone in some special way. And I always say also that one of the most beautiful parts of the process is releasing it, because at that point, those songs aren't mine anymore. You know what I mean? Like they're out into the world, and whatever the listeners make of them is what it is. And however they interpret the songs is, how it is. And so I kind of have to let go in a way and say, okay, I did this, but it's yours now. And I've definitely felt that with Dear Diary, and it's been such an incredible experience so far.
I love it. And I love, I really like the song, to be honest with you. I really like the song, Will I Ever? I thought that was a great.
Oh, thank you.
There's no better leadoff hitter, pardon the baseball pun, or expression. There's no better way to lead off an album than with Will I Ever. It's really great.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and I listened to the whole thing today.
One.
Yeah, it's so good. I really love what you're putting together. So let me make a really bad analogy, maybe, but like my mind, and maybe our audience listening, some of us don't understand it. You said it so well. Thank you for giving me the words, the creative process. I'm a creative, but not in that lane. Like I can't sit down and write a song. I can write a blog post, I could tell a story. There's people that have told me I need to write a book, and that's possibly in the works, breaking news. But I can't write a song. I don't even know where that what that looks like, but and then I obviously went to college for business. And so in my quote unquote creative mind, I know how to potentially build a business. I have a dream of what that business could look like. And so I guess I'm making, I guess I'm drawing a comparison to the fact that if I sat back one day and I sat down and I said, okay, this is like, if I started with a blank sheet of paper, much like writing a song, and I said, I want a business to look like this, and I think we should do this. Almost like you just, so hopefully people are understanding where I'm going with this, and I'm having a hard time communicating.
It makes total sense.
Much like I would sit in a boardroom or on a whiteboard with friends or, business partners, I would whiteboard out, I want our business to look like this, and I want our messaging to be this, and I want to be this kind of brand. And if we moved into an office, I want it to look like this, and I want to get us to market like this. So, you know what I mean? Like I think that's what's very interesting in speaking with you is I'm completely with you. It's just not the same way. You know what I mean? Like,
right, exactly.
And if I could sit back where you now have an album, Dear Diary, which is your launch of your business. And so for me, if that's me on my side of the quote unquote creative process, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, I launched this. This is my baby. And to your point, there's parts of that to say, I'm not okay with how that logo looks, or I don't want that logo on that sweatshirt. Yeah, I'm making stuff up as we go
Yeah.
now, but do you know what I mean? So although my mind or my talent or lack thereof doesn't connect with yours in terms of how you're in the music side, I'm not. I don't understand that, but I do understand hopefully a little bit of the business side. And so to put those two together, I totally understand the process. I guess is what I think that's what I'm trying to get to, is like I understand and I really appreciate the process, and having it
Mhm.
finally go to market, for you an album, if it's for me a website launch, whatever it might be, that's a moment that has to be so special. So that was a really long extended way to come back to the question of how special was it to launch your first album?
Yeah, it was so special. So special. Before I talk about that more, I just want to say, like, the whole analogy you made makes total sense because the music industry is a business. Like, I released an album, which is a work of creativity and music, but there was a lot of marketing that went into that, booking interviews, getting merch designed, getting my website all organized, getting physical CDs that I'm going to be selling on my website. So there's literally so much from the business side. And I think your whole businessy approach makes total sense as well, because you cannot release an album without knowing something about marketing or business. It just is not going to work at all. And
Right.
so I spent so much time, planning all that. Musically, I've been working on this album for 2 years, but this past year, probably starting in February, is when I really started getting into all the marketing, getting, all the press photos taken and graphic art and all that. So yeah, it definitely is a business as well. But in terms of how special it is to be out, like I literally can't even like wrap my head around it. I remember the night it came out, I stayed up till midnight, and I was texting my one friend. He was staying up till midnight with me, like to hear the drop. And I literally like just sat on my bed and just started crying when it came
Yeah.
out. I cannot believe this is out. Oh my god. And then just like listening to it for the first time on Spotify, I was like, oh my god, I cannot believe after 2 years of like blood, sweat, and tears working on this project, it's finally out. So yeah, it's so special. And an album as well. Like before this, I released 5 singles, which is special to release those as well. But releasing a single is completely different than an album, and
Mhm.
I'm really excited with everything that's happening surrounding the project.
How much have you had to self-train yourself? Because you just made a very good point. So imagine if I started a business and I needed a jingle. So again, this is a bad analogy. Maybe it's a good analogy. I'm not sure. But so if I'm going to start a business and I needed a jingle, I would have to teach myself how to make a jingle, because I'm not a creative music person. You
Mhm.
just said it, I think a minute ago. You're a very clearly talented and creative music person, yet I don't think you probably went the route of marketing. So you probably had to teach yourself, at least in these
Oh,
early stages. At some point
100%.
you're going to pass the baton. Hopefully your career continues to grow, and you'll have someone that'll come alongside you, that'll be a part of your team, that's going to say, okay, Demi, we need to do this is how we need to go to market, and I've got this is how I do it. Yeah, you know what I mean? But as again, we're both startups. So for each of us, we have to teach ourselves something we've never done before. Now, I can't imagine going
Mhm.
out and creating a jingle on my own, and I don't mean that in any, I mean, whatever you want to call a jingle sounds like some kind of derogatory. It's not, I don't mean that in that way, but like if I wanted a beat for my podcast,
Mhm.
I don't know how to create a beat, and so for you, I wonder, all right, you know how to create a beat, but do you know how to market? So to the point is, you've had to do this on your own. You've had to go out and watch, what,
Mhm.
I don't know, YouTube videos, or find advisors and mentors that said, okay, this is how you need to do this. And like, we're both shoestring trying to put this thing together, on my side of business, on your side music. So I don't want to keep going back to that analogy, but I think it's a fair one for people that are listening, because a lot of us, I think, listening, don't understand the creative process when it comes to music. Is
Yeah.
is that fair to say? Like, have you had to teach yourself a lot?
Oh yeah. When it comes to the marketing and networking, like I cannot tell you how many hours I spent like trying to learn. And I'm so lucky now that I have someone who is being so kind and loving, and I kind of see as a mentor, who's just been there for me through this whole launch process very recently. So it's been amazing. But up until then, literally like completely myself. And I think this is one of the things where anyone listening can kind of take away here is like some of these things are just like trial and error and like
Right.
learning from your own mistakes.
Right.
Because when I released my first two singles, Into Focus and All I Want This Christmas, I knew nothing about the music business at that time. And I just released two songs. Nobody listened to them. And I'm sitting here thinking, do my songs suck? Why isn't anybody listening? And it was because I didn't market them.
Right.
And I realized that there are certain things that you have to do as an independent artist to even get noticed. You got to have a website. It has to be a very professional website with all your music on there and everything you're doing. Also, you never send any kind of like email to anybody without an EPK. And for those of you who are listening who don't know what an EPK is, it's an electronic press kit, which is basically your music resume. I didn't have one of these until my third release, LA Will Wait For Me, because I didn't know what they were. And so it's just those things, like little small things you have to like learn as you go. Another one is not submitting your music to radio without metadata. I didn't know this until somebody told me, like, why are you releasing your music without metadata? Like, I didn't know.
Wow.
So there's just many things you kind of have to learn. And especially as independent artists, like we have so much to focus on, like the craft and also, you know, building a brand and getting a website and getting our like music out there, getting interviews, promotion and everything. And there's a lot to learn. And I feel like I've read, you know, lots of articles, books, watch YouTube videos. And it's one of those things where like, if you really want something and you really want to be part of whatever industry it might be, you got to educate yourself and keep up with how the industry is changing and what are kind of the unspoken rules per se, and like all those things. Because the more you know about the business, the better off you'll be. Because when I started, like I said, knew nothing. And now, like, if I would have tried to release an album in 2019, it would have been a total disaster. But now that I've had 2 years of really digging deep into the business and learning it and growing, it was a much better success than it would have been 2 years ago. So I really think research is important, and just if you're passionate about it, you'll want to do the research. Like I don't mind reading a book on music business. I think that's cool and fun. But for somebody who doesn't want to be in the music business, might think that's boring. So yeah, just truly try to educate yourself in whatever your industry is, because you'll be better off in the long run.
That's a great answer. I wish we were doing video because that was a really good answer. And I'm the thought that came to mind, the quote that comes to my mind is a quote that I love. And it says that overnight success usually takes 15 years. And I think
100%.
Right. I think, you know, again, for you and I both to draw that same comparison, you know, what I appreciate for me, and I think I assume you're going to say the same because I feel like we're kind of connected. You know, what I'm thankful for is people's grace, you know, grace while I'm trying to figure it out, because overnight success does not happen. It takes 15 years, and it takes grace from your audience. It takes grace from friends and family and people that discover you on whatever social media platform is out there or websites out there. It takes grace for people to watch a YouTube video and go, okay, well, the video was horrible, but the content was great. And I see where, you know, he or she is going, you know, to listen to a song and say, okay, well, you know, maybe it wasn't as sharp as, you know, something I would normally hear as far, you know, what I mean? Like, and has nothing to do with your talent level. I'm talking about, you know, I'm saying like, hopefully that makes sense. Like, right. Like hypothetical, like to listen to, as you said, your first two songs, you didn't know. So when I speak on the music side, when I speak of grace, I think of, you know, somebody that received your email and says, okay, she's new. She's just figuring this out. And she doesn't know that she did you say, what is it called? An EPK?
An EPK. Yeah.
EPK. So
EPK,
someone received that email and they looked at it and they said, you know what? She's brand new. She doesn't know she needs an EPK. You know what I mean? That's the grace I'm talking about. Or someone that watches one of my YouTube videos and says, okay, his video's terrible. It's not good. He's not Joe Rogan by any means, but I like the content. I like the heart. I like where he's going, you know, and I've been blessed, and I'm sure you have as well, with people that have said, you know what, I know where you're going. You're not there yet, but I'm gonna, you know what I mean? Like they sign up because they believe in you, and
Right.
that's what I have found, and I believe that's probably true for you as well. Is there's people
Right.
that believe in you, and they know you, they know your heart, they know your songwriting, they know where your songs come from. Is that fair? Like, do you know what I mean? Do you follow me on that?
Oh yeah. No, totally, 100%. And I think, the whole thing about overnight success too is like that's such a myth. Like anytime like there's an artist that completely appears to fall out of nowhere and has a Billboard #1 or whatever, they've been working behind the scenes for so long to get there.
Right.
And I think, even for them and for me too, like, like you said, I've definitely had a couple, no, not a couple, a lot of little failures from here and there. Like when I
Right.
started not knowing what the heck I was doing. But like, I'm so grateful that there were people to say like, hey, like maybe you should send an EPK. And I'm like, what's that? And then I
Right.
watched a YouTube video about what it is. And then, oh yeah, now that I'm sending EPKs, I'm getting stuff now. And that was a major turning point. Like when I started and I was sending emails without an EPK, when I tell you I got zero anything, I got zero nothing. Like I didn't get anything. The second I started sending that, I started getting things. And that's kind of like something that's not as known in the industry until you're like in it. But I'm so grateful for everybody who was there from the beginning. Because like you said, anytime you kind of discover somebody who's just starting out, they can kind of see like, oh, they're new, but I'm going to go along for the ride anyway. And I think the people who really get people to come along for the ride, even when they're new and don't know what they're doing, it's their personality, which is something you touched on a little bit, because I think, like art or whatever you're doing, there's a person behind all of it. And if you love that person and if you connect to that person, if that person's authentic and all of those things, you're going to want to support them and watch them grow. And I feel like I've seen that happen with a handful of my fans, and my family and friends who have also been so supportive from the beginning, because I've just tried to stay true to myself throughout the whole thing. And I wasn't faking anything, not even from the beginning. And that's something I know I did right from the beginning, because I never once tried to put on a fake persona or anything. And I think even though I kind of took a few missteps with the marketing and networking, I was always true to myself, which in the long run definitely helped a lot. And so, yeah, just try things. Like you don't have to know what you're doing when you start something. Nobody knows what they're doing when they start. And so I think it's one of those things where you just have to like take the plunge and see what happens, because if you don't try, you'll never know.
Oh gosh, this has been one of my favorite interviews. I really mean that. I mean that. Like I genuinely mean that. Because it's real and it's true. Look, it's easy to have, let's just say I had Taylor Swift on, which will probably never happen, but let's just say I had Taylor Swift on, right? Taylor Swift's going to tell the story and everybody's going to hear Taylor Swift, and they're going to see, oh yeah, she sold a bazillion albums and she's whatever. Again, hypothetical, but you know what? They don't know the struggle. And what I love about our conversation today is the struggle. Not that I don't love that we go through a struggle, but what I want people to hear is, look, it's not American Idol. And to your point,
No.
if I walked out on stage and sung at American Idol, and let's just say I won American Idol, Carrie Underwood didn't just show up at American Idol and start singing. Carrie Underwood was singing her whole life, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't care who the artist is, what the TV show is, what the whatever it is, you don't just show up and are good. That applies to sports, it applies to business, it applies to music. There's a lot of work that goes on behind the scenes. And sometimes I was going to mention this because I think this is hard for us as well. Again, drawing that same comparison, sometimes you have to put a little bit of ego aside, because I think for us, at least for me, when it comes to growing a business, you say, well, I know the best way to do this. But then somebody tells you need an EPK and you're like, okay, I didn't know what that was. I mean, it takes a little bit of, because I could fight that and go, no, I don't. I can do this. I'm talented. You see what I'm saying? I think there's a part of us that wants to say, no, I'm good enough. I don't need that. Well, no, there's people that know how to do this. And so we have to be willing and accepting to say, you know what? I don't know what that is. I'll find out what it is. And I'll sure as heck get it in my next email, to your point. Because that's what helps us. So I don't know.
Yeah.
I've loved this interview. I really have. I hope you have,
Oh,
because
thank you.
I've taken a lot of your time.
Oh no, it's fantastic. About your point about, like people knowing better and listening to them, like 100%. And I mentioned earlier, there's someone who has truly become such a mentor and such a great friend recently. And he's a great example of being somebody in the industry who knows exactly what he's talking about. He knows a ton of things. He's so knowledgeable. And like I'm always one to kind of, listen when things are being said to me, like this is what you need to do. Like I'll take it and grow. But I'm not gonna lie, like I'm gonna be honest here. Like when it comes to my music, I can have a little bit of a stubborn streak
Mhm.
because it's so close
Right.
to me. And he straight up told me, Demi, you're stubborn. You're
Right.
so stubborn. I'm like, what? And
Right.
like he straight up told me that. And like he's like one of my best friends. And now I'm just like, you know what? Yeah, I am totally stubborn. And just like from I feel like I've always known it. But when I was told I need an EPK, I did it because, like I had to get one together. It was kind of a pain in the butt getting it on my website and all that. I went through it because I knew I needed it. But with some other things, I'm very opinionated at times and I can kind of hold on to things. And he was basically telling me like, you're a great artist, you're a sweetheart, you're an amazing songwriter, but you gotta be less stubborn. And ever since he kind of brought that to my attention, the last couple months, like my personality, like I've grown so much. And he's even said like, wow, like you're actually listening to what I'm telling you. Like what happened? Like what happened to you now? And I think it's because I'm finally realizing like I want to be successful in the industry so much. And even though I'm very opinionated at times, and can be super stubborn at times, I'm starting to realize that I have somebody in my life who truly believes in me and wants me to succeed. And if he tells me not to do something, I'm not going to do it. If he tells me to try something, I'm going to try it because he knows better than me. And I think it took me such a long time to get there because this is another thing that is kind of deep, but I'll say it here. For a really long time, I felt like no one really believed in me and my music at all. And I feel like because I felt like nobody believed in me, I thought I had to do it all myself, and whatever I did was what it was. And once he came along and started really believing in me, it took me a really long time to even accept it. And I think that's why I kind of pushed back a lot because I was like, this is too good to be true. Like he doesn't actually believe in me, like all those kind of things. Because for so long I didn't feel that. And so I think that's one of the main things that made me have a major stubborn streak because I didn't really want to accept the fact that maybe there's somebody who actually does believe in me. So that was a big turning point for me. But yeah, like honestly, it's so important to listen to what people say when they're more knowledgeable and know more than you because I learned from so many people, and who knows, maybe one day like I'll be able to pass my knowledge on to somebody else and say, hey, this is what you do, this is what not to do. So I feel like there's a constant transfer of knowledge and inspiration and direction.
Well, you're wise beyond your years because you're right. But at the same time, especially in the industry you're in, there's trust issues. How many stories have we seen, documentaries have we seen about artists that were really taken advantage of? Because there's people that are out there, just like there is in the business world, that want to take advantage of someone that's especially new. So it takes a while to develop the trust. And the other thing I would say that I really appreciate about you too is I agree with you. At the end of the day, this is personal. This isn't just a business. This isn't me just making a check. This is personal. For you, it's personal. You've written the music. These are your words. These are your stories you've put down on paper and now into music form. This is personal. And so of course you're going to be opinionated. It's personal. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I don't know if anyone in the non-creative world can understand how personal this is. It's just like a business. Again, not to make the comparison, but just like a bit, it's personal. This is my business. This is my dream. You know what I mean? For you, it's music.
Yeah.
For someone, it's sports. For someone, it's whatever. We all have a dream. And when we pour our heart and soul into it, we want people to share the passion. And it's very difficult. And there's trust issues, I think, for people to find someone that says, you know what, I believe with the same heart and passion that you do, even though it's not mine, my music, my job, my business, whatever it is, I believe, and to trust them enough to be able to do that. So I think this has been amazing. I hope people have really appreciated this. I have. So because of all that, how can we support you? So anyone listening to this, you're on Spotify. You're on all the platforms?
Yeah, I'm on all the platforms. My artist name is Demi Michelle, so you can find me on all those. My website is DemiMSchwartz.com, which is DemiMSchwartz.com, where you can also find all of my music, the podcast I host, which is Right on Track, a songwriting podcast. I run a blog on there as well, and my shop is on there where I'm selling signed Dear Diary CDs and also Dear Diary inspired merch.
Love it. How again, not to, so if someone hears this and they say, you know what, she's special, I want to support her, what's the best way for us to support you? Is it to download the music? Is it to buy some merch? What's the best way to support you?
So the best way to support me is to definitely listen to Dear Diary, but if you can buy the merch or a signed CD or a download on iTunes, because I don't know if you guys listening know, but Spotify and the other streaming platforms are really taking over in the industry, but a stream basically pays an artist a fraction of a cent. So you need millions and millions and millions of streams on Spotify to even basically get paid on there. So a lot of things that artists are turning to even, get income with their music is definitely playing live shows, but downloading the album on iTunes and also the signed CD and merch on my website will help so much.
So much. Okay. Well, everybody listening, do me a favor and support my new friend and my girl, Demi. She's out to getting it done. You're on the socials. You're very active on the socials as well. Where can they find you there?
So again, my handle, just like my website, is at Demi M. Schwartz. And you will definitely notice me because on almost all my socials, when you find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter and Facebook, or Twitter and Instagram, actually, you'll see a butterfly emoji next to my name. And that's like a huge part of my brand. So if you see Demi Michelle and the butterfly, that's me.
And I don't know if have I said it wrong the whole time? Is it Demi or Demi?
It's Demi. Yeah, Demi. It's fine.
Did I say it wrong the whole time? I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it's fine. No, literally, like,
Demi?
It's fine. No,
I gotta say it right.
Thinks
so
it's...
let me just get it right. Demi? Am I saying it right?
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
Demi.
Everybody thinks it's Demi.
Sorry.
Demi Lovato is so famous and popular. Yeah, but mine is Demi. So yeah, it's different. But no worries, it's good. Everybody usually says it right.
My bad. Goodness sakes, Aaron, do your homework. All right. Well, either way, support my friend Demi. Did I say it right?
Yep, Demi.
Nailed it. All right. So everybody, either way, everybody, please support and thank you so much. Like, this has been really, really interesting. I hope it's been good for you. I want to get it out on all the platforms and all those things, because this is really good. Like, I feel like there's something here for everyone, not just people that are, as you said, they're part of the creative process on the music side, but this hit home for me, and I hope it will for others, that wherever this lands, again, I don't handle that. I control the inputs. God controls the outcome of every podcast I do. So thank you for supporting me. You have been awesome on socials. You share everything. You like everything. We've never met before, but I'm so thankful for you and I want nothing but success for you.
Oh, thank you. That means so much. Your show is truly, like I said at the beginning, so inspiring. So I'm so proud of you and all you're doing as well. And it was truly an honor. Like, when you told me I could be on the show, I was like, this is fantastic because I love the show. So this was like such an honor. So thank you so much for having me on.
Well, you have an open invite anytime you want to come back, and I tell everyone that, but you certainly have an open invite for your next CD launch, whatever it may be, whatever's next for Demi. It is absolutely an open invite for you.
Oh, thank you so much. That means the world to me. Thank you.
All right. We will talk to you so soon. Good luck to you.
Thanks for joining us for another episode of the Unscripted Podcast with your host, Aaron Conrad, from his studio at the Junction in Old Hilliard. Make sure to like, share, follow, and review on your favorite podcast platforms. Also, make sure to check out my song Great and Mighty One on Spotify, iTunes, or wherever you find your music. We'll see you next time on Unscripted with Aaron Conrad.
Attention shoppers, we now have taste in the bread aisle. Dave's Killer Bread. That's right, an organic bread that's no longer a sedative for your taste buds. Dave's Killer Bread is on a mission to make the most of the loaf, to rid the world of GMOs, high fructose corn syrup, and artificial ingredients, and plant the seeds of good in all that they bake. Killer taste, killer texture, and always organic. Dave's Killer Bread. Bread amplified.
Mary redeemed a $50,000 cash prize playing Chumba Casino online.
I was only playing for fun, so winning was a dream come true.
Chumba Casino is America's favorite free online social casino. You too could have the chance to win life-changing cash prizes. Absolutely anybody could be like Mary. Be like Mary. Log on to ChumbaCasino.com and play for free now. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18 plus terms and conditions apply. See website for details. The voice in the preceding commercial was not the actual voice of the winner.